For heat, I'm on your side with a first alert for a break in this hot pack.
And breaking news, I talked to a UAB geologist about that massive earthquake in Russia that triggered tsunami warnings across the United States.
And we have a WBRC safety check on the effects the sun's UV rays have on your skin. And a reminder tonight about your best defense in the sun.
Live on your side, First Alert Weather Extra starts with breaking news.
And that breaking news, First Alert Weather Days today and tomorrow for the dangerous heat index levels. It was rough out there today.
Oh yeah, it was so hot.
Yeah,
I'm still hot.
Yeah, it was so hot,
Yeah.
I cut my hair.
I love that, and I cut my sleeves.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Wes, what you cutting?
Well, I'm not mowing the
grass?
lawn. I
I
can
was
tell you,
gonna say.
I got out there
Yeah.
last week and battled it. I'm going to have to wait a little while, which we need some rain. I need some rain. I mean, everything's
Yes.
kind of slowed down. You know, it was almost like we were in the middle of the rainforest, but now it's
Right.
getting hot. And watching storms, though, right now, we have some storms we are tracking. I want to get you right over to radar. Some intense lightning. Some of you have reached out on social media and said, Wes, it is popping out there. Parts of Jefferson County, cloud to ground lightning. You hear that thunder, you are close enough to be struck. You need to be indoors if you see that cloud to ground lightning. But a live look from northern Jefferson County there at Adair Tire. So one of the cool tools that we have here in the First Alert Weather Center, we're going into what we call volumetric mode here, and we're basically scanning these storms and the depth of the storms. And what you can look at this time of the year, you see how these cells pop up, and you can even see some of the overshooting tops there, some of those height echoes with these the developing pulse storms. But you see how there's little pockets where the air rises. Here's a couple over towards Gordo and Pickens County starting to develop. But a lot of these tall clouds that you see on these summer afternoons, you can see these are storms from far away that you are seeing out there. So we're going to be dealing with more of those popping up. We go back to radar and we'll get back to that view over parts of Shelby County. You can see around Alabaster. Actually, let's flip this map around. There we go. You can see over parts of Coleman County and back in towards Dodge City. Storms developing over Coleman County and around Smith Lake. Lightning. Make sure you are indoors. And now we'll take it in towards parts of Shelby County and Bibb County. And you can see over towards Heiberger some storms developing. So Centerville, Brent, a first alert. These storms developing northward over into Alabaster, Brantleyville, where we've had some rain. You need to send some rain to other areas. I know you've been getting quite a bit of rain past couple of days in parts of Shelby County there. Chelsea getting a storm at the moment over towards Oak Mountain. Watch out for that threat of lightning. Another cell that's developing, and we've been watching northern Calhoun County. So it looks like Lincoln at the moment. I was just noticing there a little pop-up. We're going to stay in this window for several more hours, at least through 9, 10 o'clock tonight. So right on through our dinner time, just keep a watch out for lightning alerts. But unless you have some rain, the heat levels, well, this is what you're going to see. Heat index levels you can see dropping off into the 90s. Another very, very steamy evening on the way. But your First Alert meteorologist, Tania Michelle, on your side tonight with things to remember to stay safe in this dangerous heat.
Yeah, Wes, you're exactly right. Safety is key on these First Alert Weather Days. And get this, the National Weather Service in Birmingham reminding you that this heat will increase your risk of heat exhaustion and heat stroke if you spend a lot of time outside. NWS meteorologists reminding you that you need to stay cool, that you need to safely cool down and remain hydrated as you work outdoors. Any strenuous outdoor activities in the afternoon specifically. Make sure you're using your air conditioning. Experts say fans may not be enough, and you also want to remember to wear light-colored and lightweight clothing. And new on First Alert Weather Extra, first responders in East Alabama say they're getting more calls for heat-related illnesses. First responders with the Gadsden Fire Department and AMED ambulance service both say they've seen an increase in heat-related calls. Some of the patients had symptoms for weakness, nausea, vomiting, and headaches.
Continue to drink the water even on your off days. You know, if you can continue to do that also all day, all morning, just continue to drink your drinks, your water, your Gatorades, and keep your electrolytes up.
With the heat and humidity the way it is, it doesn't matter if you're exhausting yourself or if you're just sitting there driving a lawnmower. You're sweating, you're getting dehydrated.
And besides, staying dehydrated, both of these first responders say early in the morning or late in the evening is really the best time to do something outdoors. And now to that breaking news. The tsunami advisory for Hawaii just lifted following that massive earthquake off Russia's far eastern coast. Your First Alert meteorologist Lauren Linehan has the latest.
Yeah, Tania, that tsunami advisory for Hawaii has been lifted, but those big waves continue to roll in. A National Weather Service official saying people in the affected areas, telling them make sure to stay cautious over the next 24 hours. This is a video from early this morning out of Halawea. And the tsunami's first waves hit Japan, where nearly 2 million people were evacuated, and Russia. Overnight waves then reached the U.S. shores on the west coast. The massive 8.8 magnitude quake is tied for the 6th strongest ever recorded. So we talk about weather a lot here on Weather Extra, obviously, and you may think a tsunami, oh, it's just a big tidal wave. I often get a lot of questions when I go to school visits. Oh, are we going to get a tsunami here in Alabama? Well, first of all, a tsunami doesn't have to do with the weather. It's actually based on geology. In fact, that earthquake that we happened to see in Russia yesterday. We have an update now with a UAB geologist who tells us more.
Can you describe this part of the world where this occurred? Is it a tectonically active zone?
Thanks.
It turns out that the Earth as a sphere is actually not a solid sphere. It's broken up into pieces that are more like a jigsaw puzzle. And these pieces of the Earth's crust, or lithosphere as it's called, they're moving around in different directions and at different speeds. One of the important things to recognize, I think, about the importance of the Kamchatka earthquake that occurred is that it is on one of the fastest moving plate boundaries on the planet at something like 3 inches per year. And what that means is that when these plates are grinding together, it turns out that the Pacific plate is actually moving underneath Russia. And so the reason that this earthquake occurred is that when that plate at the surface goes down, it is contacting and rubbing against the land of Russia and the volcanic arc above. And because of that, this friction actually breaks the rock in between, in that boundary.
There are certain types of faults and boundaries. What type of earthquake was this that occurred?
What a subduction zone is it's simply a name that geologists use when one plate at the surface actually dives down underneath another plate. The subduction zone boundaries actually are the locations of the most powerful earthquakes on the planet because of the reverse movement of one plate against another.
Can you explain to our viewers how something like an earthquake causes a tsunami?
Part of the ocean floor, that is the bottom of the ocean, underneath the water of the ocean, it moves up or down during this earthquake movement. And so if the seafloor happens to move up, the water that's on top of it has to move up by exactly the same amount. If the seafloor drops, then the water of the ocean, which is resting on the seafloor, has to drop as well. So what that happens is when there's a sharp movement of the seafloor, the sea surface moves as well. And that sets off a sea wave, which is really a very powerful wave of energy that propagates out from the location where the seafloor broke. And it can move as fast as 400 miles per hour across the Pacific Ocean. Have you ever thrown a stone into a pond and watched the ripples move out from that impact point? Well, those ripples start out being large and then they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so as the ripples dissipate throughout that body of water, that energy is being dissipated and absorbed. And so the potential tsunamis that would arrive in Hawaii, any of that sea wave that moved onto the coasts of Oregon, Washington, or California, they would be much, much smaller than the 3.3 meters of water height that hit the Russian coast.
Does our population have any concern for tsunamis? Even though we live close to the Gulf and the Atlantic, why are those technically a little bit less seismically active?
Here's the reason why we don't have to have any concern, because we don't have a subduction zone off of the Alabama Gulf Coast.
Yeah, that's right. Because we don't have a subduction zone in the Gulf, we don't see issues here in Alabama. Well, new on First Alert Weather Extra this evening, UAB doctors have updates on how the sun affects your skin. We'll be right back.
All right, a First Alert weather day for the heat index over 105. We'll do this again tomorrow. That's why we have another First Alert weather day. We'll see if we need to carry that over into Friday. We're seeing those rain chances ramping up, and that's helping to knock down the temperatures over the next couple of days. But a front moves in over the weekend, calling it a cool front by definition. It's going to take us from 90s into the 80s, technically a cool down and an improvement, but we're still talking 80s around here for summer in Alabama, but not too bad for the first weekend of August. The catch with the weekend, there will be some more showers and storms in the forecast, especially Saturday as we look ahead to Saturday and Sunday. Let's get you back over to First Alert AccuTrack, and want to show you where we have some storms at the moment and some intense lightning. They are popping over Shelby County, anywhere from it's almost a repeat of yesterday, from near Bent Brook and over towards the Hoover Met back in towards Glen Carbon and Brantleyville. You see in the Shelby County, Chelsea now a pop-up storm. Still some lightning detected out here not far from Pinson at the moment, so it's still coming down over parts of Jefferson County. And also noticing over towards Logan Martin, we've got a storm now around Cropwell. So folks here around Cropwell, First Alert, some intense lightning there, seeing some cloud to ground lightning and gusty winds with some storms in East Alabama at the moment. But your Tania Michelle with a look now at the impacts the blazing sun has on your skin.
Oh yes, Wes. This is exactly why we remind you all to wear sunscreen. A WBRC safety check from UAB on what happens when your skin is exposed to the sun. Listen to this. UAB doctors say ultraviolet radiation is classified in the same risk category as X-rays and nuclear radiation. A UAB doctor telling us when UV rays hit the skin, they penetrate deep into the cells, causing direct and dangerous damage to your DNA. Dr. Braden McFarland saying there are 4 stages to sunburn inflammation, cellular repair, peeling, and replenishment, where new skin cells restore the damaged area. Dr. McFarland says sunscreens remain a frontline defense for your skin against those harmful UV rays.
And new tonight on First Alert Weather Extra, I'll take a closer look at how strong afternoon storms can pop up fast and cause damage like this. The science behind it after the break. Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. Right now, you're Mickey Ferguson cleaning up a mess from when a potential microburst moved through. You can see in Gadsden, this is where he actually lives. We saw issues with this potential microburst that came through. The chairs and other furniture was blown over. The wind also picking up a picnic table and breaking the window. So what exactly is a microburst? Well, it's a smaller version of just a general umbrella term for a downburst. And a downburst is what forms when you have really strong winds that basically funnel to the surface. So when a downburst forms, you can have a setup where typically it's pretty warm and humid outside, as we saw when that storm came through Mickey's backyard. So you can get a strong thunderstorm to develop. And how do you get a strong thunderstorm to develop? You have a strong updraft. This rising air is rapidly rising into the sky. And so eventually that updraft can weaken and some colder air builds into the middle of the storm. And how does the air become colder in a storm? Because you think, okay, a storm's develops, it typically has to be pretty warm outside. So what is happening is that when you have a storm, you have heavy rain and hail that can develop within it. If you get a lot of heavy rain and hail within a storm, eventually, gravity's got to do its part, and that heavy rain and hail can fall rapidly. And as you get a lot of heavy rain and hail coming out of a storm, it can actually move into some drier air that's getting entrained back into the storm. And what happens is that as that hail and rain falls through that drier air, it begins to, some of it can evaporate. And evaporation is a cooling process. So that hail and rain can actually cool the air it's moving through, and colder air is pretty dense. So that air that is funneling down to the surface in that downdraft, that cold air, it comes down very forcefully. It's definitely denser. And that's when you have this strong surge of air coming from the thunderstorm. And that's a downburst. It comes out of the storm and moves out in all directions. So what Mickey saw at his house was a microburst. And like the name suggests, it's not on a very large scale. So when you have a downburst, if it's a downburst on the scale of a microburst, it's just like 2.5 miles wide or less. So it's actually pretty small. So even when you have something on that small of a scale, when the winds are that forceful, those severe winds coming out of the storm, they can definitely be pretty painful. Well, your First Alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt now has an update on what we could be seeing with our weather in that Super 7-day forecast. Wes. Oh, and actually looking at some rain tracking.
Yeah, that's right. Tracking some wet weather out there as we go to First Alert AccuTrack radar at the moment. You can see we have some storms we need to get to here. And at the moment, some lightning. We've been tracking around Center Point and Pinson. That wet weather really coming down there over parts of Jefferson County. And the storm's moving slowly. So that's been kind of a good thing there with respect to we've been needing some rain in some of those areas. And Shelby County, also Chelsea, you can see Tania zoomed in here. A storm, it shows moving north, but it's just drifting along. Watch out for the lightning. Showing one lightning strike, but when you get these little pulse storms, you see the sky turning. There's a little stormy out there. Just know that lightning could happen at any moment. We've been seeing some little pop-ups over in East Alabama. Coleman County also getting some rain right now around Dodge City, and now that development back in towards Brushy Pond and Bremen, an area we were watching there. So basically between Coleman and Birmingham, you're traveling north on 65 this evening, going to run into some of these pop-up storms, but this is going to continue well into the evening hours tonight. It's so hot out there. We're in the mid-80s here on Red Mountain, and so far the rain's been very spotty and scattered, so a lot of us still dealing with some steamy conditions, and with that kind of instability, there could be some more storms. Centerville, let's go in here, Tania, and check out Bibb County. There's a storm right there just south of Brent and Pondville, and that one developing north. There's Harrisburg, so running along Highway 5, but 30 lightning strikes. Look at that with this one storm just over the past 15 minutes. So it is really popping in here. This is a storm that's on the strengthening phase that's moving north there into Bibb County. So forecast radar shows a lot of this sticking around through late this evening, but after midnight it all comes to an end. Tomorrow, another day we heat up quickly. Afternoon highs out there will be reaching back into the low to mid 90s, but storms will be popping up. We're still in that summertime mode in the final week or final day of July. won't disappoint. We'll see those afternoon pop-ups, and some of those again might be intense. This shows around 6 o'clock tomorrow night some of the new high-res data. This is HRRR data showing to the north there possibility of some development, but you can see the development's rather chaotic and random, but the rain chances stick around through the weekend. We have a cold front on the way. By definition, a cold front. Anytime you see a temperature discontinuity, it's defined as a front, but for us, a cold front in this time of year means going from 90s to the 80s over the weekend, but also a chance we're going to see some showers and storms during the afternoon. So if you're heading out to that Rod Stewart concert Saturday, early evening storms possible, but the rest of the evening we should see some nice improvements in the temperatures. And there's that 10-day forecast through this weekend. Saturday and Sunday, rain chance 60 to 50% in the afternoon. So those afternoon storm chances are sticking around now, looks like through Sunday. I can't promise it won't be a total washout, but each day there's going to be a time in there where we could see some rain, so we're going to have to watch out. And Tania, you and I were taking a look at some of those rain chances Sunday and Monday. We were thinking we could back off yesterday, but now it looks like, yeah, got to watch it there for at least more scattered storms.
Oh yeah, we got to watch it. Right now is the time to just be prepared always. Hold on to the umbrella and the rain jacket, keep it in your car, keep it near the front door so you don't forget it heading out the door. But here's a look at that beyond the 7-day forecast. We're taking a look right now at our temperature outlook, August 7th through the 13th. So bringing in really the first few days and close to the middle of the month of August. I can't believe it's August already. It's crazy. As we look across the nation, many states and really most states dealing with above average temperatures as we approach the middle of the month of August, and that includes us right here across the southeast. We will see a brief period of some cooler temperatures heading into our 7-day forecast at the end of our 7 days, but beyond that, looks like the heat could be back on the rebound. As we look at precipitation, August 5th through the 9th, we're looking at a variety across the nation. Some areas dealing with below average rainfall like Albuquerque, New Mexico, Denver, Colorado, over towards Las Vegas, Nevada, and just some far eastern portions of California. But notice along the north, the Pacific Northwest, the northern portions of the United States, and along the East Coast, dealing with more above average rainfall. So like Wes was mentioning, more on and off scattered showers and storms. Yeah, that could possibly stick around for us as we approach the first few days and really are closer to August 5th through August 9th time frame with more afternoon showers and storms. It's the summertime. It's typical. So above average rainfall, that means hold on to the umbrella and that rain jacket. Of course, beyond the 7-day, as we continue to fine tune those rain and even temperatures, well, keep in mind it can and possibly will change in the days ahead. So stay with us Monday through Friday. We'll always show you that beyond the 7-day forecast. But stay with us after the break too. We have more and maybe a look at some fewer photos. Find out in just a couple of minutes.
All right, it is a First Alert weather day, and we are now tracking some strong storms out there, Lauren.
Yeah, we are. We've got a few right now. You can see these little outflow boundaries all over radar.
It's like boundary bumper car today.
Yes, boundary bumper car, so
Yeah.
be careful out there. We need Caroline in here to help us with that. But yeah, a few of these storms are going to be producing heavy downpours and some lightning, so be careful out this evening.
Watch out for those pop-up storms, threat of lightning, more heat on the way tomorrow. We've got you covered. First Alert weather day. Tonight, we'll see you at First at 9.